Hi everybody, welcome back to Foster Media. So in this video we're going to go over Python conditional statements. And these would include things like if-else, else if and if-or. And all the examples I'll be using today, I'm just going to be copy and pasting from this website that you're seeing on your screen right now. So in case you're following along, all you need to do is go to fossmanmedia.com, click on scripts, scroll down to the bottom, underneath examples, click on Python, and then conditional statements. And that'll bring you this page right here. So I think what I'll do to get started is just create a file. And then that way we can copy and paste all these code snippets, then run them and see what we get. And I think we'll start off too with something really simple, such as an if-else statement. And then we can add additional functionality as we go with else if and if-or. But yeah, before we do any of that stuff, we have to create that file. So I'll just jump over the terminal. And of course, any text editor will do. Just don't forget to include the .py extension when you go to save the file. But because I'm in a terminal today, I'm just going to be using touch. So I'll say touch, example.py. And there it is. But of course, before we're actually able to do anything with it, we have to make it executable. So to do that, I'll use the change mod command. So chmod plus x, example.py. And there we go. So now that we've created the file, we made it executable, we can start copy and pasting code. So I'll clear this out and then go back over here. And then right here, we have our first conditional statement. So actually, before I explain it in greater detail, I'm just going to copy and paste in the terminal where the font's a bit bigger and we can see it better. So I'll just copy this stuff here. And then go back over here and open up our file. I think I'm just going to use Vim. So example.py. And then we'll paste that stuff in there. And save it. And then I'll just go over it really quick and then I'll run it. So right at the top here, we have our shebang. And that just points to where the Python interpreter is on the system. In case you don't know, this part right here is referred to as the shebang or hashbang, whatever you like to call it. And it's just the # with the exclamation mark. And then preceding that is a path to where Python is installed. If you don't know where that path is, you can easily find it by just opening up a terminal and just type which, Python 3, hit enter, and that'll give you the path right there. So user bin Python 3. And in case you're wondering what this 3 is doing here, that's just because I actually have Python 2 and 3 installed on my system, just so I can run older scripts. So that's why I have to include that 3, just so the system knows that it's using Python 3 instead of just normal Python, or Python 2 rather. Chances are that won't be the case for you though, especially if you're running an operating system that's been released in the last 5 years. It's just going to have Python 3 on it because Python 2 has been deprecated. So you probably won't need to include that 3. But even if you do, it's not going to hurt anything. Just in case if you're wondering why I have that there. Yeah, that's why. So I'll exit this. And then after you have that path, you just throw it in there and you're good to go. An alternative way to do this is if, say, you're going to be making the script and running it on numerous machines that may have Python installed in different locations. You can also find Python by using the environment variable. And to do that, all you have to do is throw in env. And then if you go to run this on a system that doesn't have Python installed in this path right here, you'll be able to access Python through the environment variable, or find that path through the environment variable itself instead. So it's just an option, I guess, if you're going to be running it on multiple systems. But for me, I just always use the which command to find the path because I know I have Python installed in the same spot on all the systems I'm going to be running the scripts on. But yeah, so for me, I'm just going to use that guy right there. But just in case you're wondering, say, about portability and stuff like that, you can also access the Python interpreter using an environment variable instead. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of getting lost in the weeds here, so maybe I'll just continue. And after that, we're going to be importing the sys module. And its only purpose is just to gracefully exit the script when it's done. And then after that, we have a simple user input. That's just asking the user to choose a mode whether read or write. And then whatever the user types in, hits enter, that value will get stored inside this variable right here called mode. And after that, we have our if-else statement. So we're saying if mode, this guy right here, is equal to read, print out this. So mode was set to read. And then if the user types in anything else other than read, it will print out this message right here that said mode was not set to read. And that's pretty much it. So there's not really much more we really need to provide for a simple if-else statement. As all we're really saying is if this equals this, do this. And if it doesn't, do this other thing. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, let's save this and give it a run, see what we get. So I'll save and quit. Throw in the ./, and just say example.py. So I'll choose the mode. So I'll just say read. And it said mode was set to read. And then if we run it again and select write, it'll say mode was not set to read. And then if we maybe try it again with just some gibberish, we'll get the same thing. Mode was not set to read, which is exactly what I was hoping for. I'll clear this out. Let's maybe see what else we can do here. So let's go back to the website and scroll down. Right here we have an else if statement. So that'll be provide us with an additional option. And to demonstrate that in a little more detail, I'll just rinse rather repeat here. Go back over here, open up our file, and delete all this stuff. And paste in this stuff. And I'll explain it a bit. Okay, so just like the last example, we have our shebang right there. We're also importing the system module to gracefully exit. We have our user input right here, exactly the same as the last example. And then we have an else if statement. So we have, it says right here, if mode is equal to read, print out this stuff, mode was set to read, same as the last example. And then we have an else if right here, and it's spelled ELIF. You can kind of just think of it as like a combination of else and if. Else if mode was equal to write. What I meant to say too is when I refer to equals, I often forget to say is equal to instead of equals. Because when I say equals, what I'm really thinking about is assigning a value to a variable, as we're doing up here. But when we use the double equal sign, we're saying is equal to. So this is just equals is equal to. Sorry, I just thought I'd mention that in case you're confused about that at all. But that's why there's two equal signs here and just one up here. Because right here down here, we're saying is equal to. But yeah, sorry, anyways, I'm getting lost again. If mode is equal to read, print out this stuff. If mode is equal to write, print out this stuff. And then if mode is not set to read or write, print out this. And also saying it's invalid value, and then printing out here whatever the user used for the input. And then very lastly, of course, we're going to exit the script. So let's try to run that. So I'll just save and quit here. And say example.py. So I'll select read first. Mode was set to read. So I'll try it again. And this time use write. And mode was set to write. And maybe if you remember in the last example, when we put in write, it just said mode was not set to read. So using this else if just gives us an additional option. And then we can also provide some output to the user if they selected write instead of read. But yeah, maybe let's try that once more with dummy value. So I'll just put in some gibberish. Yeah, and then we get invalid value. And then it just returns whatever we put into the input right there. Yeah, and that's our else if. So I'll clear this out. And let's see what's next. Okay, then we got an if and. So just like we did the last example, I'll just copy and paste the terminal, explain it there, and then we'll run it. And delete all this. And I'll just copy everything or paste in everything copied from the website. And save it. Okay, so we got our shebang as always. After that, we're also importing sys. This time we have two different user inputs, one for username and one for password. So all this input's going to do is ask the user for username. That value will get stored in this variable right here called username. And same thing goes for password. And after that, we have our if and conditional statement right here. So we're saying if username is equal to root and password is equal to password, then print welcome username, which will be root. And then we have an else if here. So else if username is equal to root and password is not equal to password, print password entered is not valid. And then if anyone else tries to sign in other than root, they'll get this right here. Only root has access. And in case you're wondering too why this \n is here, that just bumps this text down to a new line. So that way there's a blank line between the inputs up here and whatever this stuff is doing down here. But you'll see that in a minute here. And then of course at the very end, we're just going to exit the script. So in there, let's save and quit. And then run it. So I'll throw in root. And then I'll put in password. And it says welcome root. So let's try that again with maybe a dummy password. So I'll say root. And throw in some gibberish. And we get password entered is not valid. So maybe I'll try that once more with just a different user. Maybe tux. And I'll put in the right password. Only root has access. Perfect. So maybe actually I'll just run it once more with a dummy value for username and password. Yeah, only root has access. And that's the if and. So I think up next we have an if/or, and I think that's the last one. Yeah, here we have an if/or. So just like with all the other examples, I'll just copy this stuff here. And go back here, open up our file, and delete it. All its contents. And paste in this stuff. And save. Okay, we're at the very top. We got our shebang. We're importing sys again. We got our user inputs, same as the last example, the username and password. And then we have our if/or right here. So we're saying if username is equal to root or username is equal to tux and password equals password, then print out this stuff. It's just saying welcome username, whoever the user is, whether it's root or tux. And then we have an else if right here. So else if the username is equal to root or the username is equal to tux and password is not equal to password, print out password entered is not valid. And then we have an else statement right here. So if anyone other than root or tux try to sign in, they'll get a message right here that's saying only root and tux have access. And then right here, of course, we exit the script. One thing I will mention is not to forget these parentheses right here. Because we kind of need those to separate the ors from the ands. Because if we try to run the script and we forget those, it's not going to error out, but it may produce an unwanted result. So yeah, don't forget to do that. I remember when I first started scripting, I'd often forget to throw in these parentheses to separate the ors and the ands, and I would get all kinds of not errors, but things just didn't go the way I hoped. But yeah, I'll show you what I mean in a couple of minutes here. But let's try to run this and see what happens. So I'll just save and quit. And .. Maybe I'll clear the screen first. Okay, username, root. And I'll put in the right password. Welcome root. Let's try that again with tux. Right password. Welcome tux. So maybe now we can try it again with a dummy password. So I'll try root and throw in some gibberish. Password entered is not valid. I'll try that again with tux. Password enter is not valid. So I think the last thing we could try is maybe just try a dummy value for the username. Look for this. And I'll throw in some gibberish, and then I'll put in the right password. Yeah, only Tux or only root and Tux have access. And maybe I'll try that one last time with dummy values for both. So gibberish, more gibberish. Yeah, only root and Tux have access. Perfect. And actually, maybe I'll show you what it looks like if we forget those parentheses. So maybe if I just open up the file again, and I'll come down here and get rid of this guy. And that one. And then I'll come down here and get rid of that guy. And that guy. So now if we try run it, let's see what happens. Maybe I'll throw in root. Some gibberish. Actually, maybe I'll put in the right password. Welcome root. Try it with Tux. Welcome Tux. And then we'll try it with a dummy password. So we'll say root. And some gibberish. And there we go. As you can see where it failed, it says welcome root. It should have said invalid password. So that definitely can be tricky because it's not throwing up any errors or anything like that. It's just the script is acting in a way that we're not intending it to, which isn't great at all. Especially when you don't get an error, because it can be make it really hard to troubleshoot a script when you're not getting any errors to tell you what the errors are. So yeah, just definitely don't forget those parentheses. And actually, I'll run once more with Tux and dummy password. Yeah, and as you can see, it says password entered is not valid. So everything worked okay with Tux, but it didn't with root. And you wouldn't really expect that when you look at the script. So say if we just have a quick look at it here. Like, why would Tux work and root wouldn't? Just from looking at this, I don't really get that. But everything works out great when we remember to put in the parentheses to separate the ors and the ands. But for some reason, if we don't, it will accept or run okay with a second value and not the first. Or as you can see, it just makes it extremely difficult to predict what's going to happen if, those parentheses aren't in there. So even though the script runs and doesn't throw any errors, it just doesn't give us the desired output, which certainly isn't acceptable. So yeah, you got to definitely be careful about stuff like that. Same thing with bash scripts too. They're really picky about their brackets. But I find usually with bash, whenever I forget stuff like that, it at least errors out. But with Python, it doesn't give you an error, so it can certainly make it pretty difficult to determine what the problem is. And I think that's the last example. Let's scroll down here. Yeah, I got some loops, but I think I'll cover those in a different video and just stick to statements for this guy. So yeah, as far as conditional statements goes, I think that puts a bit of a dent in it. Hopefully the examples we went over today will provide a bit of help. As the main goal for adding this content to the website was just to have somewhere to double check syntax, especially if you're using multiple languages. It can be really easy to mix it up. And hopefully doing something like this will also help make that process a little less painful and double as an introduction for people who are just starting to learn scripting. But yeah, please let me know if you guys ran into any issues. And thanks for watching the video. But yeah, I think that's it for this one. And hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.